is hilarious. Living it up, living my best life. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I'm so excited to see you out there. This is day 34 of our Accelerated Healing Detox Bootcamp, and I am Dr. Helen, your host, and I'm so excited to see you out there. We've been doing this for 34 days every morning. 34 days every morning, 6 a.m. and 8 a.m. every single morning for 34 days. Give yourselves a hand. I don't know if this is your first day because we're still inviting people to join us because we can go back and look at all of the ones and they can just stay right on track. But this is the 40 days. It's a complete 40 days. We're still working it all out together. And it is so exciting to see you out there. So I'm not sure if this is your day one or if you want to invite somebody to join us on your day one or your day two or even your day 34. But whatever day it is for you, welcome. If it's day one, welcome. If it's day two, welcome back. And if it's day 34, look at you because you are still here. Good morning, and good morning again. We have some good information for you today. Aren't we excited? Because we are going to continue with our series of an ounce of prevention. And there was a question that was in the chat on yesterday, and I wanted to make sure we addressed it because I didn't have an opportunity to address it before we closed out. So we are doing it today. I know you're hearing a lot about this thing called CMOS. And as we continue to talk about an ounce of prevention, we're going to present some information to you about this amazing CMOS. But first, my favorite husband, John Stoddard. This song is Longer Than Forever. Here we go, 45 seconds. Forever. That is my favorite husband. I must admit he's my only husband as well, but we are loving that song Longer Than Forever. It's so nice to have somebody to sing a song about you. Don't you love that? Anyway, day 34, guys. We are putting pictures in on tomorrow in our presentation. So you just can continue to send your pics in so that we can see what your food looks like. I hope you are continuing to enjoy the amazing recipes that are available to you that maybe some people didn't even realize that you can have these wonderful foods. You're thinking like, I have to eat this certain way, and you're learning that there are different ways that you can still have delicious food but still work on your health at the same time. So you want to be able to do that. So as we continue into interval 4, we have 6 more days in interval 4, and then interval 5 is really at the end of ours when you will return to 3 cooked meals. But I always suggest to you strongly that you always put something raw before you eat your cooked foods, something raw before you eat your cooked foods, because we're preparing our bodies for digestion. We're bombarding it with antioxidants and anti-inflammatories. They digest a lot faster than cooked food because they have enzymes in them themselves, and they'll start to digest proteins and things in your system before you introduce the cooked food, and it'll just make digestion a lot better. I think we're going to talk about probably after the 40 days, we're going to do a session on food combining. Oh, so glad that you're enjoying the food. We're going to do one on food combining. And so we'll be talking about that so that you'll know how to best combine foods for for digestion, for good digestion. So this is continuing on into interval 5 as we continue through these last 6 days of interval 4 with our 2 cooked meals. We're still adding in those raw foods before. I know you got your step stools. Are you doing your squats? Are you doing them? Are you staying strong? I sure hope you are. We talked about that. We told you we were trying to build our lower body strength, so we're continuing to do that as we combine it with our food for our best health, because we believe that food should be our medicine and not medicine be our food. Right? We want to continue. I am a board certified physician. Dr. Helen is a board certified physician. I've been dually trained in internal medicine and physical medicine and rehabilitation, with additional fellowship training in sports medicine and non-surgical orthopedics, and additional training in interventional pain, which I practiced for about 15 years. And then on to my own training with lifestyle medicine, integrating lifestyle medicine with my traditional practice. And I learned that there were so many people that benefited from changing the way they consumed, the way they thought about food, the way they consumed food, the way they introduced food, and used it for their health. They had less pain. They required less procedures from me. That I started to notice that my procedure log was getting lower and lower and lower, and that didn't do well for my finances, but it sure did a whole lot for my patients. And my goal is my patients to do better, and so they did. And I was just so excited. I thought I'd bring it to the world so that we can share with you the importance of your food and what your food does for your health. And because it does such amazing things for your health, it will lower your blood sugars, it will lower your blood pressure, it will lower your cholesterol, it will decrease your inflammation, it will decrease your pain. So I thought, wow, why not share this with the world so that they know what it is? Because I just feel like, I really hate when people don't know. I figure if you know better, you do better. And so if you got it, you know what to do about it. And then even if you decide not to do anything about it, at least you know. I just go in there intelligently, that you make a decision. It might be not a good one, but you still make it intelligently because you have the information that's necessary. So this information is for informational purposes only. This is for informational purposes only. It is not meant to replace the sound advice of your primary provider. I would love to be your provider, but if I am not, if you have not made an appointment with me, make sure you at least keep in contact with your provider, because this is very powerful at lowering blood sugars and blood pressures. And so if you need your medication adjusted, changed, or removed, your provider will be able to do that for you. So we have been talking about an ounce of prevention being worth a pound of cure. And so our format is to talk about that particular product, where it comes from, the nutrient profile, the forms that you find it in, the benefits of it, how to consume it. And then we give you just a few words of caution. And so today we are going to be talking about sea moss. Sea moss, man, is a sea vegetable that grows in the waters along the Atlantic, at the coast, between North America and Europe. It's very similar to seaweed, and it's like an algae, like kelp or dose. If you've heard of kelp or dose, they're grown in different colors. Like you might see sea moss in yellow, you might see it in purple or black, red, even brown. You see in all of these different colors. And the sea moss can come in different forms as well. It can come as capsules. It can also come as gels. It can come in its raw form, and you can also find it as gummies. I tend not to do gummies for it because the sugar is in the gummies, and because the sugar is in the gummies, it can kind of lower your immune system a bit while you're trying to get this thing to improve your immune system. So I don't go for the gummies, but the powder that you can just sprinkle and the capsules that you can take, I'm good for. And the gel, my sister actually made me some sea moss gel. She's really good at that. The sea moss is also used as a thickening agent, and it's a natural source of carrageenan. There were some there in the early years. There were some reports of two different kinds of carrageenan where they were processing the carrageenan a little differently. So I always caution people to not use carrageenan because you didn't know what if it was the natural source from the algae or from the unclean toxic source. And so I would say stay away from carrageenan. But now I think that some foods are telling you that it's carrageenan used from algae, which is a good source. And so you'll see it used in things like ice cream and cottage cheese. They use it in non-dairy milk. They even use it in dairy products, the ice cream and the dairy products of milk and things of that nature. So it is there, and that they're used for that. It is really pretty nutrient dense. We talk about 4 tablespoons of raw Irish sea moss, contains no fat, no sugar, but it has fiber, it has protein, it has a good iodine content in there because iodine is good for your thyroid health. And so it's a natural source of iodine, just like the kelp and the dulse are natural sources, as well as the seaweed that you put on your seaweed wrap on your sushi. I don't do fish sushi. Obviously, I'm a whole food plant based, but I do seaweed with my rice, and I'll do like tofu in there. I'll do uh, avocado, cucumber, carrots, all of those kinds of things inside of my seaweed because I know that seaweed has a good iodine source. I do not use iodized salt because that salt only has sodium and chloride in it, and it will tend to have a detrimental effect on your blood pressure. I use Himalayan pink salt or Celtic salt, or I'll use a red Bob's Redmond salt that comes from, I think it's Iowa, that it's sourced from Iowa. But I use those different salts, probably more pink Himalayan salt, and there's less iodine in it. So I make sure that I incorporate natural iodine sources into my diet, and seaweed is one of them. My dog actually eats seaweed. I buy him like the roasted seaweed chips, and he likes to eat on that. And so it also has calcium and iron and did I say calcium twice? I must have meant it. And magnesium, potassium. It's got a lot of good nutrient profiles, and even copper that's used for making neurotransmitters. It's necessary for that. Now, these are some of the helpful things that this sea moss does. It's anti-inflammatories, antioxidant. It improves blood sugars, improves your immune system, promotes heart health, supports weight loss, may improve gut health, and it's possible that it may support infertility. But there are studies that need to be done on that one. We do know that it's good for your circulation. It actually may prevent clotting in your blood. You know, you want your blood to run smoothly in there because all of those nutrients and all of the fighters are in there. Your white blood cells are in there, your red blood cells that carries the nutrients to everything, the plasma that water is in, that neutral that provides the the liquid that your cells need. All of that is going through your blood, right? We need to be hydrated, and we're hydrating and putting this natural liquid, helping to keep our blood flowing properly. And Irish moss, which that seaweed appears to have an anticoagulant effect, so that it's good for your heart because it keeps your blood flowing the way your blood is supposed to flow. No clotting in it. Clotting is what can actually kill you. So we don't want any of that to happen. And also may be neuroprotective, protects the different neurons because it has an ability to alleviate oxidative stress. And so you'll see a lot of researchers have been doing research about its quality as neuroprotective. They've done it in animals. And so there are research attempts underway to see if this is a neuroprotective substance for drugs for humans, so they can make medications using sea moss. You know, a lot of drugs are made from medications, but then they are able to patent it because they put other things in it. We're going straight to the source of getting the sea moss. So we are using that for its possible neuroprotective abilities. It also has the ability to support weight loss, and so we that's another good reason to use it. It's got these microalgae are very rich in fiber that can help you feel full for longer. So it prevents you from overeating, because overeating is like one of the ways, especially when you eat the standard American diet, that it's going to pack on the fat, particularly around the midsection, around your throat area, your arms. Everything gets all big, and your thighs and your hips, and things go the way you don't want them to go when you're overeating. And so the seaweed kind of helps you feel fuller longer because of its fiber content, and because it kind of gets a little thicker. We're thinking that it's like this fucoxanthin that is in the seaweed itself, that promotes the metabolism fats. That has been actually shown in rats, not yet shown in humans, but we say may support weight loss. And so we're careful to say may do it. If adding Irish moss to the meals increases like your feeling of fullness, your satiety. And so you can cut down on the amount of calories that you consume. So we are going to continue to look at that. The idea that sea moss kind of works kind of similarly to chia seeds and aloe in this respect, for that process where it kind of is a thickener, and makes you feel fuller because of its fiber. And flax seeds are another one that's in that class of doing those things for it. So that's one of the ways that we can help to control our weight. It also may lower blood sugar levels, and from that same substance, that fucoxanthin can also lower sugar levels. And this is also done in rat studies. They have these rats that are just made these rats diabetic, and so they can use these rats to test different products to see what effect it has on their blood sugar levels. And so it has been found in animal studies to actually be effective at lowering your blood sugar. A couple of days ago, I was trying to describe to you what the cholesterol looks like in your blood vessels. So I included that in this slide today, where you can actually see that yellow thick substance. If that yellow thick substance just coats the walls of your blood vessels, then you can see that your red blood cells are stunted. They're not able to get past that big clot, those areas where it's closing off your blood supply. And that's why people have heart attacks and strokes. One of the reasons they have heart attacks and strokes, because these cholesterol plaques can actually thicken and harden, and then they can flick off and then go to your brain and cause a stroke, and they can go to your heart and cause a heart attack. So this is really important. You do need cholesterol, but you don't need as much cholesterol as the standard American diet provides. And so that excess cholesterol starts to accumulate in the blood vessels, a dangerous place for them to be. We know that there are studies who have shown that the LDL, which is the bad cholesterol, is what oxidizes to form these things. And we can use this sea moss to actually lower that bad cholesterol. And then we also has the added effect of adding or thinning the blood, so that it can help to decrease your risk of having heart disease or a stroke. Good stuff, good stuff. And we talked about it, this thyroid function. And for me, this is kind of the eight ball, because I had some problems with my thyroid. And, my nails were dry and brittle, and just, I don't know. I never had an energy issue, probably because of the food, but I started adding more iodine rich products into my diet. My hair was kind of wiry, and I was like, this is not what my hair feels like. It was just kind of wiry. And so I just started adding a lot of these different things, the seaweed snacks and the sushi and the kelp and the dulse. They're both in my cabinets. They're like in a shaker that I can just kind of shake them into foods. And it really is very interesting. When my oldest daughter was younger, she was actually born 9 weeks early, and she was having headaches all the time. And her board certified pediatrician told me, that was when she introduced me to the fact that kelp and dulse were very good at protecting the thyroid and providing the thyroid with what it needs. She suggested not giving her things like medication for headaches, she suggested giving her kelp and dill. She said, let's try this and see if it works, because my daughter was having headaches all the time. We had no idea why she was having headaches. MRI after MRI was negative, even a CT scan, and they were all negative. So we could never figure out why she was having these headaches. And so we started giving her, if she said she had a headache, we give her like a little, probably it was a quarter of a teaspoon or a half a teaspoon or something. We just put some dose in her mouth and her headache would go away. So we knew that it was providing what she needed for her thyroid function. And it also would like warm her because her fingers were really cold. And her doctor discovered it because I think she was probably 2 at the time, and she was running around the office, and she when the doctor said, let me take her temperature, she took her temperature and her temperature was low. And she was like, she's running around like that. Her temperature should be higher than that. And that's when she said, I want you to start giving her dulse or kelp. And so we started giving her that on a regular basis. And in that way, we were able to improve her headache. She stopped having the headaches like that. We still hadn't discovered the cause of it, but we at least knew what to do to stop her from having them, because she was miserable. I can't tell you how many times we were in the emergency room because I just knew she had a brain tumor or something. And I was like, I know we must be missing something because she should not be having headaches like this. And so that was something that we discovered that we just started adding regularly to her diet. We're still on a quest to figure out why those headaches are coming though. May improve skin health as well. And the skin, you can just see how beautiful these girls' skins are. And so that we use the sea moss to help with skin. We also know that it helps to improve gut health. And improving gut health, it does it by having these live bacteria that are in it and the fiber, and both of them support a healthy biome. That fiber is actually what those good bugs in your system need to eat on. Like everything needs to eat. There are trillions of these cells in our body, and everybody needs to eat. You want to eat and they want to eat. And so what they are eating they're eating the fiber. They're consuming the fiber. It makes them robust, and it makes them able to make sure that your gut is healthy. And so it actually improves the microbiome. In addition to that, it has found that the seaweed improved immune function and the modulation of the immune system, meaning it's able to rev up the immune system when it's necessary, when the body needs it. Scientists need to do more research, of course, because they want to make sure, like, how does this work in humans? But that, along with so many other things, ginger and lemon, these are things that actually improve your immune system. You hear people coming in and getting a ginger shot, putting a little cayenne pepper in there, putting in some lemon and some honey, because it actually helps to with the immune system. I always tell people who may have seasonal allergies to drink tea with natural local honey all during the winter time, so that you will see that you have less allergic symptoms when the pollen starts to populate your cars and to populate the sidewalks and all of those things. So that was one of the things that we used to do with our kids, is giving them tea. We were like teetotalers, and so we would drink tea every day, and we put in local honey. So you can discover what is in your area that's local. For us, local honey goes from Alabama all through Georgia and into Florida. And so the bees that are in those areas tend to pollinate different parts in Alabama, in Georgia, and in Florida. And so we're getting their pollen into us. That's kind of how they do the immune shots, right? You get an immune shot, we give you, and I did immune shots in my office. We would give you a little bit of that thing that you were allergic to, a little bit at a time. And we kept building up on that until your system was able to look at that different antigen, or that thing that would normally cause you an allergy. It would look at that and say, oh, I've seen this before, I can handle this. So to give you a little bit at a time. And that's what the local honey does. It just gives a little bit at a time of what the pollen is like, or what the pollen is going to be like when that season comes. And so that was one of the things that we use. It also helps with building muscle. It can help to build muscle because it's rich in amino acids, particularly the one called taurine, which helps muscle building. So when we exercise, I don't know if you know that soreness when you exercise is because your microfibrils, which are the little tiny fibers inside the muscle fibers, are this is what my graduate study work was on when I did my master's. It increases the size of those myofibrils, but it does it by tearing. It tears the muscles, and that's where you get the soreness. And so this one is really good with the amino acid taurine that will actually help with the muscle recovery. And so the sea moss has about 6 grams of protein per, like, maybe 100 grams. And so that exercise, it makes your exercises, kind of stabilizes those muscles, so you get less soreness and better recovery. And you're still able to make sure, you also want to make sure you're still eating healthy, and you're getting enough rest, and you're getting enough water, so that you can kind of, if you want to look like that. Do you guys want to look like that? I don't particularly want to look like that, but I do want to be like kind of toned. And so yeah, maybe some men want to have some cuts like that. Incidentally, dairy does not allow you to cut that way. And so you'll notice most of those bodybuilders, they either have to work extremely hard if they consume dairy, but the ones who work more efficiently cut the dairy out so they can get cuts like that. In addition, we have found that it has anti-tumor effects. And so we know that this Irish moss has these anti-tumor effects that can actually stop the growth of these cancerous cells. And again, I say may because these are studies that have not been proven in humans yet. So these are just lab trials, but it may indicate that these polysaccharides, these molecules that this Irish moss is made of, that thickening part of it may be what improves the immunity and improve the antioxidant activity so that it can fight the tumor growth. So that is yet another reason. Now, I told you earlier that you can have sea moss in different forms, and so this is one of the forms. This is a sea moss gel, and it's kind of thick and sticky, and it acts like a fiber that keeps you full longer. So you don't need much of it. You can just use a teaspoon of it, but you can make it at home. You could just use a teaspoon every day, put it in your food, and you can make it at home. And the way you do it is you just take this sea moss, you can soak it in the water overnight, then rinse it, and then blend it with some new water, and then transfer it to an airtight container and leave it in there. You can probably leave it in there for a couple of months, but to be safe, you can just keep it fresh for up to 5 days in the refrigerator if you're going to think it's actually going to be good for a couple of months. But if you are going to be gone or you're not going to be able to use it, you can certainly freeze it and extend the shelf life of it. But you can just literally put it in smoothies. You can even put the powder in smoothies. You can also put it in your oatmeal. You can sprinkle it over the oatmeal, or you can just put some in your oatmeal and consume it that way. I like to put it in yogurts as well. I do a non-dairy yogurt, and here's the, like blending it up with like some blueberries and blackberries. Incidentally, I make this incredible blackberry salad dressing. So good. It kind of almost looks like that, but an incredible blackberry salad dressing. And maybe I'll share that recipe with you guys. And I hope that you will enjoy it. But it's just a good way to like boost these antioxidants. I didn't put sea moss in it, but I think that would be a great thing to put in the salad dressing, and you can use that over the salads. And I'm going to show you some really pretty pictures of that, and I'll put that in our Facebook group so that you can see the blackberry salad dressing in the Facebook group, and I'll put in the recipe as well. If you haven't joined the Facebook group, make sure you join it. We'll put the link in the chat box so that you can join and you can have access to this delicious salad dressing that you can put over. So good. And you can, like I said, you can mix it into the yogurt. Here we're going to just go through some of the cautions of it, just some quick cautions. It is safe to consume. Toxicity is low. It does come from the seed. There may be some heavy metals. You want to make sure you get a good source of it. And you also want to make sure you wash it well when you get it. That's the whole purpose of soaking the seaweed overnight. You're going to pour the water off of it, put fresh water on it. so that we can decrease the risk of having these heavy metals in it. We know the sea is actually bereft with, all kinds of metals in there. And so you want to make sure that you do that. That same thing kind of occurs with seafood, and that you can get a lot of heavy metals in there that way. It is absolutely absorbed into their skin as well. Difficulty to quantify the amount of nutrients because it really depends on where the seaweed is grown, and so there might be some regional differences. So we can't really like say it has exactly this much amount, but you can't really say that about any product that's grown from the ground because it's obviously going to change depending on what the quality of the dirt is, if there are enough nutrients in the dirt. All of those things matter. Do you have enough magnesium or nitrogen in the soil? All of those things really matter. And so you can't really say this is exactly how much it is. But you see how we're grasping for some caution, right? And so you're unsure about the iodine content. And so some people might say, oh, this is iodine. Oh, well, let me just eat only sea moss all day. I don't know. Maybe it might be too much iodine. I don't know. But people don't typically do that. They're going to just like take it in normal dosages. You can just drink it in a smoothie. You can drink it 3 times a day in a smoothie. That is what we're doing. So those are the cautions of it. We have talked about sea moss and where it comes from. We've talked about the nutrient profile. We've talked about the different forms that it comes in. We've also talked about the health benefit, how to consume it, and we've given you some words of caution. This is my sea moss here. Where can you purchase sea moss from? You can purchase it from, I got this one actually from a farmer's market. I'm sure somebody's going to ask that question, but I got this one from a farmer's market. This is my sea moss here. Excuse my nails. I know it's chipped. Yeah, and then I just took it all off from that. But don't worry about that. This is my sea moss, and that's what it looks like. This is yellow sea moss, and then you can just take this and make your sea moss gel out of it. And it's good stuff. It kind of has sometimes a kind of a nondescript taste, or not really, just a slightly kind of sweet kind of taste. It's kind of nondescript to me. And so it's a good thing to consume. So we are able to take your questions, and we're going to take your questions, and we are going to make sure we put it in a Q colon format, from yesterday. Does the COVID vaccine cause heart attacks? Hey, so we talked about this yesterday. I would caution you to go back and look at yesterday's video. We actually dedicated some time on just that talk right there. So go back and look at yesterday's video, and I'll even post it today. I'll repost it so that you can see that, and I'll just put the link on there. The next question is, what about using sea moss with hypothyroidism? Well, sometimes, the idea is that people are hypothyroid for several reasons. There's something called Hashimoto's thyroiditis. Hashimoto's thyroiditis is an autoimmune thyroid disease where your thyroid is under functioning. Remember, your thyroid is responsible for metabolism. It'll metabolize your fats and proteins. It'll actually generate heat so that your body's not cold. It actually helps your blood flow so that you have good blood flow to the different parts of your extremities, even into your brain, and it communicates with a part of your brain, right? So that you can get, your brain will tell your body, it will tell your thyroid, hey, I need to secrete more thyroid. And so there's this looping mechanism where the brain talks to the thyroid. When the thyroid is under functioning, it could be because it doesn't have enough of the active thyroid hormone, which is T3. So what we do, that Synthroid medication is actually T4 medication that is converted in the liver to T3. So you can see why it's important that your liver is working properly, because the conversion is going to occur in there. And so if it's bombarded with all of these toxins, which is what we did, we're detoxing them out. When it's bombarded with all these toxins, then it will not be able to convert into its active form. The other thing that's interesting about it is that iodine is what makes thyroid hormone. So you need to have good sources of iodine so that your thyroid hormone is made properly. It's in the inside of the cells, part of that colloidal process inside of the thyroid cells. And so you want to make sure you have a good source of iodine in it. Before salt was iodized, there were people that had these growths in their throat, their thyroid gland, they called them goiters, that we call them goiters. They're still called goiters because they got larger and larger because there was not enough iodine. So it got larger. So you can actually use iodine in hypothyroidism. You just can't continue. You can't just overdo it, because if you overdid it, it can possibly cause hypothyroidism, which is very interesting, because it's almost like, in my mind, I think about it like insulin resistant, like in type 2 diabetes, your body becomes resistant to insulin because it's secreting all of this insulin that I believe your body is not recognizing, and so it doesn't fit into the receptors properly. I think it probably works the same way with hypothyroidism, with the thyroid system, and it not recognizing those hormones quite the same way. So I would just say, don't do too much of it. This is the way I think of it. I haven't seen any research, but in my mind, I just use like what could that possibly be going? What could possibly be happening? And so I talk about, I think that it may work the same way. So you don't want to overdo it, but certainly if you take it in natural doses. I would also caution you to make sure you stay in contact with your primary care physician, because they can actually monitor your thyroid function and see if it's becoming detrimental, or if it's helping, even, right? If it's helping or if it's becoming detrimental to you, if you're doing all over. And it is, I did note that the best place to get sea moss from, I did note, and I agree with you, Debbie, that there are people, when people find that something is helpful, and people are looking for it, then you're going to find a lot of people out there trying to fake it so that they can just make money off of you. So you want to make sure you go to a reputable company, and you want to make sure you go to Wildcrafted. I'm not even quite so sure if I would do like the farm raised sea moss, because they start to do things with, like they do with salmon, the farmed raised salmon. They get to put stuff in the salmon. They put the antibiotics and they put the hormones and all those things inside of it, the farmed ones. And so when I was eating salmon, I always ate wild caught. I didn't want to eat the farmed fish. I wanted to eat the wild caught. So I'm really more interested in getting the wild sea moss, the one that you actually can get from the sea. That's really where I am going from. Somebody said, share the salad dressing. I am certainly going to share that salad dressing in the Facebook group. So we will definitely do that. And then are there any other questions? Let's see. I don't see any other questions. So just make sure you get your sea moss from a reputable company. You want to just make sure that they use best practices to do them. And so that's what I do. There are no other questions, so I want to thank you. Now I want to bring your attention to my T-shirt here. I'm not wearing my lab coat today because I wanted to share with you my T-shirt. I have this T-shirt designed for this boot camp. 40 days, I'm amazed. And we are reversing some kind of things. Reverse It is the name of my program, where I help people reverse type 2 diabetes. And we go through a process very similar to what we have gone through, or what we are going through to help people reverse type 2 diabetes. And then they get a lot more stuff, obviously. But this is a part of how we get started in helping people to reverse type 2 diabetes, because we're not only interested in reversing type 2 diabetes, but we want to decrease the risk of cancer. We want to help with heart disease. We want to help with kidney disease. All of those things, we're allowing the body to kind of detox, so we can give our body the atmosphere and the environment to do what God meant for it to do, which was to heal itself. And so we want to optimize what's inside so that we can do that. When it's not optimized, then you will need medication, right? And so there are people who are going to need medication. That industry is going to always be there. But you and I, we know something different. And so we're trying to do something a little different. And it won't hurt the industry at all. So day 34, these t-shirts will be available probably by Tuesday. And I'd like to offer them to you 40 days. I'm amazed. I'd like to offer them to you. And I think that they'll be available on Tuesday, and we'll give you the link that you can go. I think if did we put the link in for the Facebook group so that people can join the Facebook group, because we'll announce it in there, as well as obviously we're going to do the recipes and check out some of the other recipes. There are lots of recipes actually in the Facebook group. If you kind of go back, there are lots of recipes back there, so you can look at some of the previous posts. So we have in the chat, we have our link that you can join our Facebook group. There are a couple of questions that you'll have to answer to join the group. Just make sure you answer the questions, and then you'll automatically be accepted into the private Facebook group, where we'll offer more information and we can stay in contact with one another. So this is the end of our day 34. Our day 34. And we are going to just end here and just be excited that we have 6 more days. I'm kind of like, I don't know, I feel some kind of way, because I'm feeling like, what do we do? Like, OJ, what do you do after we're not looking at him on the screen anymore? What do you do after that? And so I'm like, what do we do after that? We'll find something to do. We are going to continue to meet every morning at 6 a.m. for our Faith Building Bootcamp. That's 6 a.m. Central Time, and every day at 8 a.m. for our Accelerated Healing Detox Bootcamp. And we also have our book available, which is our Reverse It book, How to Reverse Type 2 Diabetes and Other Chronic Illnesses. It is available on Amazon, as well as the workbook and success journal, also available on Amazon. And www.p2whealth.com will get to the Power Pack. That is a strong immune booster that is not meant to take every single day. It's only meant to take when you feel something. It is a 3-day treatment. It's a 3-day supplement pack, not a treatment. It's a 3-day supplement pack. Just supplements that are very powerful at improving your immune system so that you can do the 0-1-2 and fight. Very rarely I find that people need 2 packs, and that I find, if you have like a really serious kind of something, and maybe your immune system might have been compromised in some way, that you might need 2 packs. But for the most part, people just do 1 pack. Your cough will kind of hang on a little bit after that, and some elderberry syrup actually is very good for that as well. So we hope that this information has been super, super helpful for you. And my whole idea is to keep us healthy, because we believe that health is the new currency, and we're spending ours wisely. I'm so glad that you're joining us, and I hope you took notes. I hope you wrote everything down, because this information, I know I talk fast, and you got to write it down and go back and check and make sure you got all the information that you were supposed to get. Make sure you didn't write the wrong thing down. So make sure you go back, take a look. And while you're there, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Put the notifications on so you'll get a video every time we send one up. And then you want to subscribe and make sure that you share with your family, friends, and even your enemies, because they want to know that health is the new currency as well. And we want to spend it wisely with them. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time.